This is a whole thing. This is a whole thing, and I don't want. This is the worst. This is the worst thing I've ever experienced in a book. Like, this is. Let me just tell you, what are we doing today? All right, what are we doing today? We started a book club, and as part of the book club, when we finish a book, I have a little review survey. You know, tell me what you liked about the book, tell me what you didn't, give me your ratings, talk about, you know, what you did and didn't love about it, and then we were gonna, like, take those and kind of, like, make fun little videos out of it, and then I got fucking lazy, and I remembered how much I hate doing YouTube videos. So now we're doing them as streams that I will then cut up and also put on YouTube, and that's what we're here to do. So if you're here on stream, hello, we're gonna enjoy this together. If you're here on YouTube, we'll also enjoy it together. I just am not talking, I'm talking to the, nope, this way, we're talking all together, which is why we have this here, so you can also be a part of this conversation. This is the January book club month, it's on March 9th, you know, it's fine, it's fine. So here's the thing about January and about this book club. I didn't want to make a book club, okay? You motherfuckers were like, start a book club, and I was like, I don't wanna. Do you know what I hate? Responsibility. Running things. I don't like running things. I don't like being in charge of these things. I don't want another thing to be in charge of, okay? I don't want it. So we had talked previously about books and things, and one of my favorite things to tell people when I'm talking about books is that there is a book that exists out there in the world, and it's called Life and Death. And the author of Twilight wrote a gender-swapped version of the first book. And nobody knows that it exists. So the look that I get to see on people's faces when I get to be the one to tell them that it exists for the first time, I love it. I live for it. Like, the reactions that I get from people, like on stream, your guys' reactions, like the reactions that I get from telling people that this book exists fuels my soul. So I was like, you know what? You motherfuckers want a book club? Fine. We'll do a book club if this is the first book we read. You all agreed to it. So here we are. Now we have a book club. And we read this book. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. So, yeah. Yes, if you are here with us on stream, this is for January. We did the February stream first because that made sense. In some way, it didn't. It doesn't. Nothing I do makes sense. But here we are. This is our second one, but also our first one. So if you're watching on YouTube, this will go up first. If you're watching on stream, this is the second one we've done. Yeah. Okay, you know what? You know what? Miss Little January was better than February. We will fight. We will fight. We'll get there. Anyway, okay, so to start this off, I'm just gonna throw in what I thought about it. All right, we're gonna talk about how this book made me feel. I don't know how reviews work. And then we will jump into the review surveys and talk about what you guys thought. This is... Oh god, I want to say this is the worst book I've ever read, and it is, but it might be tied for the worst book I ever read. It's either this or this and The Shadows Between Us. I really can't decide if this was worse or if they were completely just as bad as each other, because The Shadows Between Us was also very, very bad. This is so terrible on so many I think I wrote a Goodreads review for this. I think I wrote a Goodreads review, and it's a lot fresher than the fact that I haven't read this in 2 months now. I've had 2 months to sit with this, okay, by the time we're getting into this. So, I did write a review. All right, I'm just gonna, you know what? This is gonna be an interesting experience for all of us because I don't remember what I said either. Oh my god, okay. I truly do not know where to start with this ... book. I'm using the term book loosely here, okay? It is technically a bound copy of pages and words, but whatever. Let's start by saying that if you've read Twilight, you've read 90% of this book. Much of it is simply text replacing names and pronouns with no other changes, and the changes that are made are horrendous. That sounds like me. This sounds like me. My main thought the entire time, page after page, was that this was clearly published without one single person reading through it to edit, which is hilarious given that in the foreword, Stephanie Meyer specifically says that the best thing about writing this, cough, replacing a handful of scenes, cough, this also very much sounds like I wrote it, yeah, was that she got to go back 10 years later and fix all the things she would have changed about Twilight. This is so much worse. This is so much worse. The writing is downright painful at times, and the dialogue is not good. If you ever thought Bella was overly dramatic, just wait until you meet Beaufort. The names in this book. The names in this book. And can we talk about how the best male replacement she could come up with for Bella was Beaufort? Yeah. If you thought Bella was over the top about how attractive the Cullens were, Beau is so much worse. Literally monologuing about how he should drop to his knees and worship this gorgeous creature in front of him, and it just keeps going. I think my favorite quote from the entire book might be when he's looking at Edith and describes the fragile-looking twigs of her collarbones. I forgot about that! That is my favorite line in the whole book. The fragile-looking twigs of her collarbones. I audibly cackled at that. My favorite line the whole time. Based on Meyer's comments in the foreword, beyond the obvious attempt at a cash grab, which I would assume didn't work because I've never met another person who knows this exists, Life and Death seems to have come about largely due to her having a chip on her shoulder for people coming for the sexism in Twilight and the fact that Bella is often described as a classic, boring damsel in distress. To which Meyer replies that Bella is simply a human in distress, and it would be no different were she a man. I guess this book is supposed to prove that? Anyway, the years of being called anti-feminist must have really gotten into her skin because Edith, our new Edward, at one point says, and I quote, "Try not to get caught up in the antiquated gender roles when paying for dinner for Beau." This from the same author that felt the need to change the school nurse to a school medic now that they're a man. That still grates on me. I literally had to go back and was like, was she called a nurse in the book? Yes, she was, but now that it's a dude, they're a medic. Because, okay. Whatever. The irony is astounding. Bella's near sexual assault becomes Beau's near shooting, which, good God, don't even get me started on how asinine that entire scene is. Because apparently sexual assault, or the implied danger thereof, is only for women. Why did I write so much?
I'm back, baby.
Here we go. There are really only a few areas where there's any meaningful change from the original, and they're nearly always for the worse. And don't get me started on the names. I looked into this. I need you to know that I did research for this. I was so bothered, I did research on this. If I had to pick, I think Rosalie Hale becoming Royal Hale is my favorite. And by favorite, I mean who the hell decided that was okay. It bothered me so much I actually had to look up the statistics of the name Royal. It was at peak popularity in 1922, more than a decade before Royal was supposed to have been born. And even that year, it was just 200 babies born and named that. Whatever. All that has nothing to do with the story, but the names bothered me the entire time. Jessamine, Jasper's female name, wasn't a particularly popular name until the 1900s when the character was supposed to have been born mid-1800s. I was so upset the entire time. The whole time I was mad about it. It really just feels like all the Cullens names were chosen by saying, sure, that sounds vaguely old-timey, and just another reason why this book feels so incredibly lazy. And then clearly I didn't want to write about it anymore. So it's not until the end that it seems Meyer finally went, oh wait, I can change things, and started to mess with the storyline. But it feels so rushed. The last 50 pages or so are so chock full of useless information, and it doesn't really work. Nothing about this book works. It's so bad. There's nothing to really even say. It's just so bad. So that's what I thought 2 months ago when I immediately read it. Look, Jenny, I was so mad about the names every time they said them. I was so upset. I was like, I have to know. Like, am I just like looking at this through a 2021 lens and like the name Royal sounds stupid because, I don't know, it's not 100 years ago? Let me look this up. No, it was stupid 100 years ago too. It was still stupid then. Who the fuck is named Royal? No. Royal. What were the other ones? There was Jasper was Jessamine. Alice is Archie. Carlisle was Corrine, right? And then Ernest, that was another one. Ernest, Esme becoming Ernest was the worst. The worst. Oh my god. And then because they spelled it as the word and not the name Ernest. Oh my god. Oh my god. It was so bad. It was so bad. I liked the change of Laurent to Lauren. It helped you sleep at night. This book is so bad. And it's just, there's no reason for this book to exist. There is no, it didn't make anything better. It didn't prove her point. If anything, it proved everybody else's point that your book is fucking sexist. And it still remained sexist when it was, oh my god. It was, oh my god. It is literally, yeah, Renegade, it's literally just gender-bent Twilight. She just took the Twilight book, swapped the pronouns, changed the names, and then put it out in the world. And there's like a handful of scenes that are somewhat different. The only people she didn't change the gender of was the Bella's parents, Charlie and Renee, because she was like, well, it would be weird if the flighty dad got custody instead of the stable mom. So we're gonna keep it where the flighty mom gets custody instead of the stable dad, because that would make, I was like, that's what wouldn't make sense? Out of everything in here, that's what wouldn't make sense? Everything else in this makes sense except that. That's where you had to draw the line. Oh my god. This version is drowning in misogyny. You are correct. At every step of the way. This book is so bad. This book is so bad. Okay, so she basically is telling in the beginning of this, Crits, thank you for the follow. So in the beginning of this, she's basically telling you why she wrote this. Okay. Why she, like, changed some words in her original document. Says Bella's gotten a lot of censure for being rescued on multiple occasions. People complained about her being a typical damsel in distress, where she says, my answer has always been that Bella's a human in distress. She's also criticized for being too consumed with her love interest, as if that's somehow just a girl thing. But I've always maintained that it would have made no difference if the human were male and the vampire female. It's still the same story. Clearly it's not, because you had to, like, change random shit that didn't matter, but whatever. There isn't much difference at all between a female human in love with a male vampire, blah, 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 blah. And that's how Bo and Edith were born on a couple notes where... Okay, so she talks a little bit about the changes. So there are many more changes in the writing than were necessitated by Bo's status as a male person, so I thought I would break them down for you. These are, of course, rough estimates. I did not count the words I changed. So she said 5% of the changes in the book were just due to Bo being a boy. So only 5% of the changes were due to swapping the gender. 5% of the changes were due to Bo's personality developed slightly different than Bella's. The biggest variations are that he's more OCD, which he's not. That's whatever. And so that's a term for something, but he's not. He's not so overly flowery with his words and thoughts, and he's not as angry. 70%, here's the thing. Here is the thing. 70% of the changes I made were because I was allowed to do a new editing run 10 years later. I got to fix almost every word that has bothered me since the book was printed, and it was glorious. Bitch, no, it's not. You made it worse. You made it worse. It's so much worse. The fact that she thinks 70% of the changes were good. Literally all I can think, is that she turned a book into a publisher or an editor when she first wrote it, when she first wrote Twilight, and they fixed it. And they were like, here's the changes to make. We've edited the book, you know, here you go. And they changed stuff and they fixed her writing and they did that. And then this time around, I don't think anybody edited this. So she went back and she changed all the things that must have been fixed. And so it sounds to her more something like comfortable, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Like, she feels it's better, but it's not. So literally all I can think is that the first book was edited and that her words were changed in editing, and then this time around they weren't edited, so she got to just put out what she originally wrote. That's literally the only thing I can think about of how she could possibly think that this is better. It is worse in every way. It's so much worse. The story is worse. The characters are worse. The writing itself, the grammar is so much worse. It's so much worse. I can't even, there's no explanation for why this is so bad. I know she's not done yet. 10% were things I wish I had done the first time around, but that hadn't occurred to me at the time. That might sound like the same thing as the preceding category, but it's slightly different. This isn't a case of a word that sounds clunky or awkward, an idea that I wish had been explored earlier, or conversations that should have happened but didn't. The only thing I can think there is that you get, like, Carlisle's backstory in this book as opposed to the second book. That's, like, the only thing that I think fits that category. And then she says 5% were mythology issues. Mistakes, actually, mostly related to visions. As I continued into the sequels to Twilight and even Midnight Sun, where I got to look inside Alice's head with Edward, blah, 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 the way the visions work. Which leaves a 5% catch-all for the miscellaneous changes that I made. No. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this. This didn't improve anything. This made things so much worse. I can't believe that I own this now. I own this book now. And it's like, did she get worse as a writer? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I think this is how she always was, because this very much just reads like it wasn't edited. Like, I feel like she made so much fucking money off of Twilight that, like, the publisher didn't care anymore. So when she was like, I want to publish this, they were like, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll take the money. Like, we'll take our cut. Whatever. You have it. Text replace. Boom. We'll publish it. And it wasn't edited. That's there's no way. Actually, aren't editors usually listed in the book? I cannot believe, you know, as much shit as you guys talk about me making you read this book, you motherfuckers made me read this book. You made me read this book because I wasn't going to. I was gonna live my life free of ever having to experience this. And then I was like, I know how to make them stop asking me for a book club. I will say that we'll do it for this book. And then you guys were like, bet, let's fucking read it. So, fuck y'all. After all the hype for the last 100 pages, I sat down and powered through with a nice glass of Jack. It's just so weird. The ending of this book is fucking bizarre. Like, she literally got 90%, 98% through this book. And then was like, oh shit. Like, I can actually do things with the story now. And then she tries to fit, like, the next 3 books worth of lore into, like, 48 pages. And it's this massive, just, like, fire hose of information that you don't fucking care about. Especially if you'd never read the originals. And I know there's people in here that had never read Twilight. Then truly none of it makes sense if you've never read the original series. The ending, everything about this book is really bad, but, like, the ending is particularly bad on a scale of, like, just bad to bad. See, here's the thing that got me about this book, is because Midnight Sun came out last year, and because my little broken teenage heart needed closure, I read it. I bought it and I read it. I was like, little 14-year-old me needs this, so 26-year-old me is gonna buy this. And I did. And I read it. And it wasn't horrible. Like, it really wasn't that bad. So I was like, all right, this is fine. Like, we can do that. No. And I'm telling you, it's gotta be that book was edited and this wasn't. And then after this, I reread The Host. Because I was, again, thinking, like, am I crazy? Like, was that book terrible and I just didn't know because I was an idiot? So I reread The Host. That book holds up pretty well. Again, assuming it was edited. Really just assuming it was edited. And it's got issues that I didn't notice as a teenager because I was a teenager and not a grown-ass woman who can see very toxic behaviors in bad men. But, like, that book holds up pretty fine. I still enjoyed it. Still a good time. Liked it. Would still like a sequel to that book if, I don't know. Well, that's what I thought. Now let's see what you guys thought. We're gonna switch gears and check out some book reviews. Book club reviews. This is gonna be a whole thing. Okay, so at the end of the month, whenever people are done reading, we have this little survey that people get to fill out. So, how many put anonymous? I don't think anybody put anonymous. Well, to be fair, 2 of you put Emma as your name. So there's 2 Emmas, which is interesting given that I didn't fill one of these out. So 2 of you technically did go anonymous because I don't know who this is. All right, what would you rate this book out of 5 stars? That's a pretty solid split. Honestly, that's more of a split than I was expecting. I would have expected mostly 1 stars. So we had 36% 2 star, 45% 1 star. So, I mean, the majority of us, 80% of us, gave it a 1 or 2 stars. This book does not deserve 2 stars, but whatever. 1 person gave it 3 stars. 1 person gave it 4 stars. Who the fuck gave this book 4 stars? We're gonna have words. We're gonna have words. All right, this is. I'm gonna knock something over here. Whoops a daisy. All right, one of you motherfuckers gave it. I think Mike. Yeah, I think Mike was the only person who liked it. Would you reread this book? 9 said no, absolutely not. 2 of you said you might reread this. I know one of you was Mike. Who was the other one? Two of you said you would read. Why? Literally, why? I'm not. Okay, look, I'm not here to roast. I'm not here to roast reviews. I'm a little bit here to roast reviews, but I'm not here to roast reviews, alright? This is. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. How would you rate the story? Alright. Almost all of us. Well, almost all of us. Majority of us gave it 1 star. A couple of us gave it 2 stars. Again, 1 3-star and 1 4-star. I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm literally gonna kill someone. How would you rate the characters? Oh, a little bit more of a split here. A couple of us said 3 stars. 2 stars. Okay. 1 star. Okay. Okay. So for some reason, the majority here is the major pie piece here is 2 stars on characters, 1 star on story. All right. Wait, somebody did say 5? You're right. Oh, I forgot that it chromas out my nails. Wow, look at that. Oh my god. I'm so mad Mike's not here. Cause I know that was him. I know that was Mike. I fucking know it was! And I need to question him. Writing style. Almost all of us said 1 star. 2 people said 2 stars. Okay, so at least we can all agree that the writing is fucking garbage. We can all come together and agree that it's just disastrously bad writing. I appreciate that at least. Okay, alright. This book is so bad and it reads like no one edited it. Beyond the story, the actual writing is bad. P.S. Still not over changing the school nurse to a school medic. Why does that sound like me? I didn't fill one of these out. Dear Lord, it was not good. There were moments I was entertained, such as the baseball game. The baseball scene is good no matter what. No matter what, that baseball scene is fun. And the response to the tracker trio, but overall everything was horrible. 300 pages of poorly written teenage angst, followed by another 80 pages of the absolute worst pacing I've ever seen. Christy, is this yours? It was bad enough that I was rereading 90% of Twilight again, but we spent 300 pages on Edith and Beau's infatuation turned obsession, and at some point the author realized she could rewrite history, because why the fuck not? I knew this was yours! I knew it was yours! Then, to make matters worse, she attempted to stuff 2 books of closure into a whole 50 pages that resulted in taking Beau to new levels of Mary Sue-ness. Gary Sue-ness? She literally made him into the most special snowflake of a vampire that literally added nothing to the character other than something else for Edith to laugh and dimple to death. The dimples. I gave character a 2-star because, once again, the secondary characters had so much more potential to be interesting. I still love Archie as much as I love Alice. Again, Alice is like, you can't mess her up. She's great no matter what. Jessamine, Jasper, Eleanor. Eleanor! I forgot about Eleanor. Royal Rosalie. All had way better backstories. I wish we could have learned more, but she shoved them all into a handful of pages like the terrible writer she will always be. I already have this in my donation box because I'm already ready to purge this from my life. Has it been purged? This was 2 months ago. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. I have very limited experience with fantasy books, but this was bad. What a horrible intro to fantasy, especially since I just finished listening to 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Oh, Shmuel, is this yours? The story was confusing, but that may be because I was remembering the movies and trying to figure out who was who. Every time they would say things like, I love you so much I'd die for you, I'd be yelling, shut the fuck up, you're 17, you don't know shit. Literally me reading anything YA ever. Yeah, anytime I'm reading YA, like, and my trick now is just that, like, I have to age them up in my head. I always just replace the 1s with a 2. So if a character is 17, 27. If they're 15, 25. It just makes it so much more palatable for me as a human being. It's the only way. Just a warning, it gets weird after this! There's some reasons behind... the reasons behind some of them becoming vampires didn't make sense. Like, I think Ernest was the one where his wife jumped off a cliff with their daughter and he tried to race them to the bottom! Just a few hours later, he was okay with living forever as a vampire with the memory of his wife using their daughter as a parachute! Okay, so if I remember correctly, they slightly changed Esme's story. Because if I remember correctly, in the original series, Esme's story was that she was in an abusive relation. Her husband was abusive, and her child had died. And those two weren't connected. They were both separate issues. Her husband didn't kill her baby, but her child died. Her husband was abusive, and after her kid died, she jumped off a cliff and killed herself. Which is where Carlisle found her. And if I remember correctly, they had met like years earlier. Like he'd treated her in a hospital at some point and then like never like always remembered her or something. It was a whole thing. And then in this book, they basically did like, yeah, so in this book, Esme's male version is Ernest. Ernest's wife was like unstable and committed suicide while holding their, like jumped off a cliff while holding their baby. So killed herself and their baby, murder-suicide. And then in his grief, Ernest just also went over the edge and was like, well, my wife is dead, my kid is dead, this is horrible, I'm gonna kill myself. And that was Ernest's story. Which again, like you're changing things based on the gender that don't need to be changed. Like you could have stuck with the same story of like dead child, abusive spouse, because men can be abused by their wives. That's a thing that can happen. And the fact that you felt the need to change that because it doesn't make sense for a man to be abused by his wife is further just proof of the sexism inherent in the writing. You know? Whatever. Near the end, when Beau was bitten and Edith was telling him about the Valkyrie or whatever they're called. The Valkyrie. Oh, the Volturi. Because I just read A Court of Silver Flame, so I was like, Valkyrie, what the fuck? The Volturi, or whatever they're called. There's a whole lot of explanation for something the reader didn't need to know and was just added in more confusion. Like, one of them has the ability to take another's power and give it to someone else, so she took her husband's power, had him killed. I don't know, my brain shut off while listening to that part. I get that Edith was trying to keep Beau's mind off of everything that was broken and the venom burning his nerves, but it wasn't needed. No, it truly was not. It truly was not. They changed the Volturi to like the wives murdered their husbands in the Volturi, and then like they were heading it up, and then they had this little character that like was Jane but like wasn't Jane. I don't know. It didn't make any fucking sense. The whole last 50 pages of that book doesn't make any fucking sense. It's so stupid. It is upsetting how much of my brain is filled with knowledge of the original series that I didn't know that I remembered until I read this book. I remember a lot of these books. Oh, next review. The plot was dumb and aimed more at a 15-year-old girl than at any adult. I mean, things can be aimed at 15-year-old girls and not be dumb. Who did the editing on this piece of shit? There were so many typos, grammatical errors, and so many places where she didn't fix the pronouns when changing the plot. God, I'm so glad there isn't any real sequels for this group to play chicken on again, because fuck, that was shite. Don't ever do this again. We will not be doing this again. No more bad books. No more bad books. No more bad books. I will start by saying this book is not for me. Look, this book is not for anyone. This book is for nobody, alright? Nobody. I have no interest or prior reading or watching of anything to do with the Twilight series, and I'm trying to approach this with that understanding. There are some parts of the book that are interesting and actually piqued my interest and had me wanting to read more just to see what the payoff for the plot point or backstory, even though these points are few and far between. In contrast to that, there are innumerable amounts of parts that had me either exasperated at the writing or just pushing me to a state of indifference toward the story and characters. Biggest complaint is how Edith is portrayed as perfection incarnate and Beau's subservience to this perfection. Literally is how it is in the original as well. Like that's literally I mean, that kind of comes down to why she wrote this. Is like people used to shit on her. They were like, this girl is literally obsessed with this dude for no reason. Like, what the fuck? And she's like, well, it's just because he's a vampire. Like, if it was flipped, the dude would also be obsessed. And that's how this came about. Oh god. I'm not sure if this is a straight transfer from the original Twilight story, but the quirk of continually apologizing to Edith while idol-worshipping her is exponentially infuriating after each interaction between the characters. Yeah, no, that holds up pretty much the same. Then when you add in all the focus on lips and mouths, it becomes grating. I get that lips and mouths are being acknowledged for kissing with an undertone of the vampires, but I didn't need to know that every fucking character was pursing their lips in response to somebody talking. Symbolism works better in moderation, not all the time, which is something that this author doesn't have a grasp of, besides being able to tell an actual story that could be interesting in general if it wasn't wrapped in a pompous sheen of teenage idealistic love and lust that is just the dark, mysterious figure that has my attention. Yeah. Next review! Spelled Stephenie Meyer's name wrong. That's okay, she spelled a lot of things wrong. The absolute worst thing about this book was Stephenie Meyer's reinvention of the English language! What a way to start! Her seemingly random use of punctuation to string together unrelated sentences, and her absurd analogies made me want to scoop my eyeballs out like, was this book even edited? think we've all agreed. No. Oh, this is Stevens. This is Stevens. The characters were actually fine, except Bo. Bo sucked. He was annoying and incredibly whiny. I loved Anya Taylor-Joy as Edith. This is Stevens. And I would 1000% watch a miniseries with Anya Taylor-Joy as a beautiful, superpowered vampire. The Collins were pretty fleshed out and interesting as well. The story wasn't great. Half of the book was Bo and Edith delicately edging each other in the forest. Steven! No! No. Then we get a sudden action-y climax that came out of nowhere. Okay, you didn't have to pair edging and climax in the following sentences. You didn't have to do that. There is nothing positive I can say about this book. This was supposed to be anonymous? Then don't talk about how much you love Anya Taylor-Joy and then talk about Anya Taylor-Joy in your review. And don't put your name on it. Your name is on this. There's nothing positive I can say about this book. The writing style is terrible. The half-assed attempt to gender swap can be seen in poor word choice for and from characters. Large sections of the story don't seem to even matter and should have been left out. It's just bad. Its very existence devalues Johannes Gutenberg's invention of the printing with movable type. May God have mercy on your soul. I award you no points. Woo! I liked it! Where's Mike? Honestly, where is he? I need him to come defend this. I liked it. I think if I recall correctly, a lot of Twilight's appeal was how much of a blank slate Bella was and how girls could easily see themselves in her place. As a guy, I think the same happened to me with this version. That's fair. Bella's kind of a non-character. She's a very, kind of a plain, especially in the first book, kind of a plain character that's, like, very easy to just insert yourself into as a character, which is, like, again, part of the point, but... Oh man. Skipping the names because we've already discussed them enough. The skeeviest part that sticks out in my memory is that Bo is repeatedly portrayed as mature for his age, and Edith talks about the children in their classes as if Bo isn't one of them. Again, also is very reminiscent of the original Twilight book. That holds up on both of these. It's, yeah. Yeah. The blunt force trauma caused by her descriptions of how pretty the vampires are is also painful. The lack of adjective variation makes me cry, and the very apparent grooming is disturbing. To be fair, if it was meant to be written like a teenager's diary with everything in all caps, then I could see it at least being written in character. And the idea of no questions are asked after Bo leaves scary messages, vanishes, and then is suddenly dead but not buried near his mom's house amuses me greatly. This is near his dad's house. He's buried in Forks. I thought it was better than the original Twilight, but I realize I'm in the 1% that may feel that way. It is possible I liked it more because it was written from a male perspective, and being a male myself, I may have identified with it more. Not sure, but I would be much more interested in seeing a film adaptation of this over the original Twilight. Fight me. One thing that was glaringly bad was shoehorning the rest of the saga into the final pages of this book. It was extremely rushed. Overall, I did enjoy this, though, and honestly, I would read the rest of the saga gender swapped if that was an option. I hope that never happens. Honestly, I hope it never happens. Ooh, favorite quotes! I think I saved a couple, too. The fragile-looking twigs of her collarbones. Maybe I did write one. Maybe I did do one of these. Maybe one of the Emmas is me. Oh, man. Some of my favorite quotes were descriptions about the female vampires. I remember! Like, not even The Rock would dare to whistle at her, if you know what I mean. Oh my god, I remember that. Like someone sliced up Audrey Hepburn, Grace Kelly, and Marilyn Monroe, took the best parts and glued them together to form one goddess. Christy, is this you? I feel like this is from Christy, because I remember you talking about that line. Oh my god. Oh my god. Woo! An honorable mention would be that it's so clear this author should not be writing male characters, because who let this get through editing? After all, Jeremy and I had been friends for a little while. Guys told each other this kind of stuff. It was probably part of the man code thing I'd invented. Yeah, no, she should not be allowed to write men. No. No. Can't think of any I can't think of any Pacific quotes, but I did enjoy how Edith threw her dimples at some— oh my god, the dimples, the dimples! They were all awful, putting the most absurd things here. Yep, there's a 70% of the changes to her. Like she was a magnet and I was a paperclip. Why is this so bad? I stood there like I'd been tasered while she pivoted and walked off in the other direction. You had a seizure? You stood there like you had a seizure? Oh my god. Dang, son, he said. Who knew you had that kind of game? Was that Charlie? Was that Charlie? Forever was going to be amazing. Since it's the last line of the book, the pain can stop now. Did I save anything? Man, I didn't write any of them down. It's just that collarbone. The fragile twigs of her collarbones. That's the one. That's the one. I can't. I literally cannot. So, that's the thing that we did. We read that book. Woo! We read that book. Oh my god. I like the magnet line. No. Like she was a magnet and I was a paperclip. Of all the things that could be attracted to a magnet, why? Why Clippy? Yeah, so that's a thing. That's a thing that happened. That we did. We did this. We read this book. And now, okay, look, here's the thing. We read the book, we reviewed the book, and now we've done the video for the book. So we're done. We're done. We never have to think about this ever again. We're good. This can be just bye. We're done with it. We never have to look at it again. It's gonna live on the bottom of my bookshelf until I go through and do a book purge and things get donated, and it will be donated, and that's For those of you that joined me in reading this, for those of you that also experienced this with me, thank you. I'm very glad I didn't have to go through it alone. What an experience. It's been awful. Let's never do it again. So, if you're seeing this and you don't want to join our book club because we read bad books, we don't just read bad books. You should come hang out. We're on Discord. We have a whole thing this February. So this was January. January was Life and Death. That was our one bad book. February is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, which was much better, regardless of what a couple people in chat will say. And then March is Lore, which I have not started yet. I'm gonna get started on that this year. Don't know a goal for Emma to read this on stream. No. So if after that you would like to be a part of our little book club, it is fun. I promise you, it's a good time. We read good books now. March is Lore. There's still time to get on that if you like. Probably not by the time this posts on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'm gonna take forever to ever post this. And then April we'll vote for in the last week of March, and yeah, it's a good time. Come read some good books. It's a good time.